With charges of government corruption and police brutality. These were the major issues that drew Egyptian protesters to the streets of Cairo on Tuesday. Protesters and police threw rocks and tear gas canisters back and forth at one another. Officials say one policeman in Cairo was killed, as was a protester in the city of Suez. The volatile mix of rage and restraint never fully ignited, but Egyptians who marched sent a clear message: President Hosni Mubarak must go. At Times senior international correspondent Ben Wiedemann was in the thick of the action. He has this eyewitness account.
The massive protests in Cairo shocked everybody, even the protesters themselves. This was a protest that was organized in the aftermath of the revolution in Tunis, and it was expected that there would be small pockets of protests around Cairo and around the country. But what became clear is that the message that was spread on Facebook, on Twitter, via SMS about this demonstration has spread far and wide and really hit a nerve here in Egypt. I watched as one group of people just flooded over a bridge into the central part of Cairo. Thousands of people joining together in Tahrir Square. That's basically the heart of Cairo. All roads in Cairo lead to that square, and they were shut off by the police. No traffic allowed. Thousands, more than 10,000 protesters occupied that square, continued to occupy it. We saw as they clashed with Egyptian riot police just 2 blocks away from the Egyptian parliament. The protesters throwing rocks at the police throwing rocks back, tear gas being fired. The demonstrators seem to have one basic demand. They are demanding the ouster of Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak, who's been in power now since 1981. What we've seen in Cairo today is that the streets were flooded with tens of thousands of angry people, all demanding a change here in Egypt. I'm Ben Wiedemann, CNN, reporting from Cairo.
Well, people have been uploading videos to YouTube and iReport. This one shows protesters standing up to a police water cannon video. Well, just like the recent protests in Tunisia, social media is playing a big role in fueling the demonstrations in Egypt. Nearly 100,000 people pledged to participate in protests organized on Facebook pages like this one. This page is called Revolution Day on Torture, Poverty, Corruption and Unemployment. Well, this related Facebook page lists the activists' demands and even includes phone numbers for lawyers who could help jail demonstrators. The demands listed include raising the minimum wage, sacking the Interior Minister, creating 2-term presidential term limits and scrapping existing emergency laws that the group says resulted in police control over the people and the nation. Is what's happening in Egypt a serious matter, or is it a matter of perception? Earlier in the day, Hala Gourani spoke with Egyptian Foreign Ministry spokesman Hossam Zaki.
People want to imitate. People want to take their demands to the streets. And this is their right. In Egypt, they have the right to do that.
Will the government listen? Look, Hossam, I've got to jump in, because will the government listen? In Egypt, it's a barometer of the rest of the Arab world. Egypt, as you know, will the government allow opposition parties to function normally? Will this presidency allow for a democratic succession? That is what people in the streets want, and they want an answer from their government.
I completely understand what you're talking about, and I think in our country, the government knows exactly what the people want, and they have been trying to do their best. Again, being a foreign ministry spokesman, I always look at this from a regional perspective. This country has known freedoms much unprecedented in this region, in Arab countries at least. This is something that has not been seen. Protesters being protected in the street, not being harassed, not being killed in the streets like we have seen recently by other regimes. This is a totally different situation. So we have to put things in perspective and not allow overzealots to qualify the situation by things that that it is not. So we have to be very careful here.
Just lastly, I've got to ask you, of course you've been following, since you talk about the regional perspective, what happened in Tunisia, the demonstrations in Algeria, demonstrations in Yemen, even some in Jordan. Okay, and now we're seeing Egypt. Is the Arab world, is a new chapter starting in the Arab world? Are we starting to see ordinary Arabs go out on the streets and demanding that their governments be more open, more transparent, and less corrupt?
You know how, in your question, you're mixing apples and oranges. I don't want to see comparisons drawn between this or that country. Each and every country, while being Arab and being and belonging to the Arab world and belonging to the Arab League, have different situations altogether. Different in economic terms, different in political terms, political openness, and the nature of the regimes and the nature of the social interactions. These are very different situations.
Hosni Mubarak became Egypt's president in October of 1981 after the assassination of President Anwar al-Sadat. He has shown no signs that he is even considering stepping down. Well, political problems in Lebanon are also boiling over into the streets.